So China back for the first time after an absence of 4 years. The women got the silver medal in their team competition. China going up against India again in the men's team competition. Can they get gold at the second time of asking here in Antalya? Let's go down to meet the contenders.
On target number 1, representing India, On target number 2, representing China, Li Zhongyuan, Qin Xiangchu, Wei Xiaoshuang. And the line judge for this match is Clement Cesar.
So there we have it, India lining up with Dheeraj Bommadevara, Tanu Das and Tarandeep Rai, who got the mixed team gold medal here last year. That's the Indian team going off against China's Li Zhongyuan, Qi Zhangjiao and Wei Xiaozhan. Wei, an Olympian from Tokyo, but all the Chinese athletes currently unranked. Betrays their real skill just because they've been off the circuit for 4 years, have 0 ranking, but they've made it through to the gold medal match. The Chinese team going up against the Indians. It'll be China to get us underway.
Seems like the Chinese team hasn't been sitting still in the couple of years that they haven't shown themselves. Showing up in 2 of the gold medal team matches.
The oldest member of the team at 26 years old, hitting the middle of the target.
They all have really rapid shots. They don't spend a lot of time aiming. They just pull back, go into anchor, and then pretty much immediately pull through the clicker and release.
Tanu Das starting things off for India. An individual stage winner on the High Under Archery World Cup circuit.
Tarandeep Rai obviously has been around for pretty much an eternity by now. Probably the most experienced guy on the field right now.
Yeah, very much so. Competed at Tokyo, the Olympic Games. As I say, he got a mixed team gold medal here in Antalya last year. Switch back to the Chinese rotation. Li Zhongyuan putting into the 8, giving India a little bit of hope, you'd think.
So you just look at this rhythm. Goes into anchor, immediately pulls through the clicker and fires a really solid shot. That's a comfortable thing to have in the team. If you, they have 11 seconds left after shooting 6 arrows, so there is no time pressure for them.
No, quietly determined. Chinese have set quite a high benchmark here. And now with Das hitting another 9.
Yeah, and both of his 9s are very close to the 10 ring, but I mean, it doesn't matter if you shoot a 9.9 or a 9.0, they both add up to the same score. So that 10 there of Bomba de Vara, he makes it possible for Tarandeep Rai here to get a tied score in the set.
Not quite.
Doesn't quite manage, but...
No, very solid start from both teams. There just seems to be this little bit of quiet determination on the Chinese side of the shooting line.
Yeah, they're just very convincing, and they just step on the line and fire a good shot. You know, don't spend too much time mucking around.
Yeah, no mucking around from the Chinese team. But what I mean is that they're fairly quiet and they're staying fairly still. But you just every now and again get a sneak of an expression. There's a fist bump every now and again from the coach. You look at the team huddle before, and they look seriously pumped up. A little bit calmer on the Indian side, but perhaps this high spirits is a bit infectious, because you saw Tanu Das and Rai there also sort of getting involved.
Yeah, we've shot against the Indian team quite a lot as well, and they're always pretty vocal, I'd say. And but it's bursts of you know, vocality. Is that even a word?
Yeah, emotion, showing their emotion.
Yeah.
Intermittently.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
That's what I'm here for. Translation. So China taking the first 2 set points in this Recurve men's team gold medal match. India shooting first. Up on the line, it's a Tanu Das.
So far only shooting 9s in this match.
First 7 of the match from Bomba de Vara.
So as we're looking at Tarandeep Rai here, you mentioned his Olympic appearance in Tokyo, but what stands out to me most of all is that he was also an Olympian in Athens in 2004 already. He's 39 years old. So in a situation like this, where India shoots at 24, which is not really a very high score at this point in the match, I think China just needs to continue their momentum and continue shooting their convincing shots, which is exactly what they're doing, and not think like, oh, they've only shot at 24, so we can take it easy. Because if India were to shoot 3 10s, for instance, that adds up to a 9 average, and if you shoot only 9s because you're too relaxed in your end, you have a tight score. So you always need to be, you know, on point, and you need to stay focused.
Yeah, you mentioned it, but it's such a mental game, isn't it? And the communication between the athletes is obviously critical in team competition. But I can understand what you're effectively saying. Oh, we don't need to be at our absolute A game. And as soon as you allow your performance to dip, then it's very difficult to get it back up again.
Yeah, and it shouldn't really make a difference what the opponent shoots for your approach to the set, because you should always be aiming for the highest score. But there is a danger in thinking, oh, but they've shot X amount of points, so we can maybe take it easy. Even though there is no real benefit of taking it easy, except for maybe that it's more comfortable mentally. You need to, especially in a finals venue like this, you need to keep going and you need to try to push the envelope a bit.
Well, to some extent, it's even more difficult now because that target of 50 is incredibly gettable, almost achievable in 2 arrows for China. We'll need to hit 2 10s. 9 is more than enough. Still plenty of room for error.
The only real example of tactics that you can have in archery is that if it's really windy and you know what your opponent has shot, you know how much risk you need to take. Because sometimes you'll have to aim off to one side or the other to get the arrow to hit the middle. But if you're unsure how far you need to aim off, you can kind of split the difference and just hit a decent score rather than go all or nothing. Today, or at least so far today, the wind has not been a factor as such. So now it's just trying to hit the middle as often as possible.
Well, the key thing here is just what you said, that China are kind of ignoring what India are putting down because they're just getting better and better. 4-0 up now. This is a pretty solid team.
Yeah, and a 4-0 in teams always means more than a 4-0 in individuals, because in teams that means that you're only a tied set away from the match win. So in individuals, if you're at 4-0, you can still easily lose, or you can still, it's easier to catch up as the opponent. In teams, this is a very difficult place to get back from. You need to be really convincing and win the next couple of sets. So that's going to be interesting to see how India will deal with this.
Yeah, the Indians came through Japan in a tiebreaker, and Chinese Taipei in the Netherlands. So they've not had an easy route to the final. There's some big teams in there, but it just don't seem at the races here.
No, not yet. So I think Atanu Das has only shot 9 so far, which is not bad. So he hasn't shot any really bad arrows, but it just doesn't really add up. And I'm sure that he's as frustrated with that as he can be. But we've also seen a bit of, unexpected reds from Boma Devara. I mean, he is going to shoot later on in the individual final, so you'd expect him to shoot really well. So, there's a little bit of struggle here.
Das starts the 3rd set for India with a 9. It's a must-win set for the Indians. They have to have a clear lead after these 6 arrows.
And as far as I know, this Indian team hasn't really shot with each other before. Atanu Das had a year in which he didn't have any showings on the World Cup circuit last year. I think Boma Devara is relatively new to the circuit, and then Tarandeep Rai has seen so many teams that it probably doesn't matter for him. But it's always difficult, or it's a challenge to get a new team just up and running immediately. So there's that as well.
It's a different story for the Chinese team to manage now, as India have put down just 1 point off the potential maximum.
Yeah, so what China can really do now is deliver a tough blow to India. India shoots finally the scores that they want to shoot, and then if China betters them in the first rotation, that's going to be a difficult thing to handle mentally for the Indian team.
They've done just that. First clear 30. And coach, you can see, still getting really involved with the team, trying to keep that level of concentration and confidence up.
It's really difficult to see from here, but it might hit the line.
So called for a measure. That's what the asterisk is for. That could be marked up to a 10. That is a definite 10.
That's a really good set from India. They have 1 or 2 9s, but those 1 or 2 9s are very close to the 10. So their group is phenomenal. But now you have to keep in mind that China has to have to shoot a 28 or 29 to tie the set. And they've just been getting better in this final. So India has done all they can, at least.
I wonder if that measure is going to become important. It does now. It really does now. Now, that is in fact correct. A 10 will win this, even if India get that 4th arrow marked up. Puts it into the 9. How important is this measure, Chef Vandenberg?
That puts it into the 9 and consequently puts it into the hands of the judge in this case. So the judge will have a proper look at that 9-10 liner, I think, and that's going to decide if we're going to go through with the match or if it's all over.
So if it stays the same, remains a 9. China have got the 1 set point that they are after for the gold medal.
I think if I heard correctly, that's going to be a 59, which means that India gets the set.
I think you may well be right. It's that right bottom arrow that was the subject to the measure, and you called it. Just tickled the 10 line, and that's enough for a 10.
And now we've often spoke about momentum. I think if there is anything like momentum, this is it. India has caught it, has caught the train.
They definitely got themselves back in the match, but you said it earlier on, China are getting better and better. They didn't shoot a bad set at all.
No, and they've still improved, I think, on their last set. Yeah, they shot a 55, then a 56, and then a 58. So they're still climbing up in scores, but India's made a very drastic turn in there.
Well, it's a big jump, isn't it? 50 in the previous set, 59 in that set.
It almost feels like kind of an all or nothing tactique here.
Does the pressure come off a little bit then when you're 4-0 down? Do you think, well, if we don't just relax, so we're going to lose this anyway?
I don't know if that's the right way to go about it, but it might be the case if they were thinking something like that. Then, yeah.
We're still trailing India. They've got themselves back in the match, though, with the set points from set number 3. I'll shoot first in set number 4.
So Atanu has broken his curse of only shooting 9s, and he's now starting to shoot 10s, it seems. So again a 29, just like the previous set.
Interesting to see how China hold their nerve now.
9.
So far China's only had 1 arrow stray out of the goal, I think. Which leads me to believe that they are quite good at holding their nerves.
9.
Just as a reminder for people who might have forgot, but 4 set points to each team will mean a shoot-off. So that's, as a neutral viewer, that's what we're looking for here. I love to see a shoot-off every once in a while.
Well, 2 9s and 10 mean that India have this all in their own hands. If they were to shoot 3 10s now, we would have that shoot-off.
What's interesting here is there's not really much difference in technique when you see them get a bit nervous. And that goes for all of the 6 archers so far. I haven't seen any grave mistakes being made here. So now at 28, if they can manage to match their first rotation, that would be enough to finish this match. So they'll at least need 110.
Those 3 9s from India, all of them pretty close to the 10, but not touching the line. So they've left this open for China. That is a real confidence booster. A 9 is all that's required to tie the set and get the single set point for victory. Wei Xiaozhuan has it in his hands.
I was going to say it's a bit of a longer hold than what we're used to from him.
Well, the long hold from Wei produces their first arrow outside of the gold and gives, sorry, the second arrow. You said there was one earlier on in the first set, there's one in the final set here, and it means that India, who were all at sea after 2, have forced the shoot off.
Yeah, and if they shot well to get there as well. They in their last 2 sets they didn't shoot a single arrow out of the gold, and although the last 4 arrows were 9s, I mean, they just kept shooting solidly, and they kept shooting good, and they forced the shoot off.
They do indeed. I mean, China looked like they were completely in command of that. We haven't seen, as you said, any noticeable howlers, no massive mistakes from any of the archers yet. Just a slight change of fortune for the Indians, who shot a 50 in the second set, to go on and shoot a 59 and a 56 to draw things level, forcing the shoot-off. So, Chef, first shoot-off of the day. What's happening right now?
So these both these teams will shoot 3 arrows, so 1 arrow each. It will be alternate, so I think China will shoot first, and then India will shoot an arrow, and then so they'll do that until both teams have 3 arrows on the target. Highest scorer wins. In the case of a tight score, the arrow that's closest to center will win the shoot-off.
So why aren't they just cracking on with it?
They're replacing the targets right now. Shoot-offs are typically done on clean targets, as we call them, so that you can, in the case of a measure, you can measure from the middle of the target. Sometimes the target is damaged, so you cannot really have a reference for measurements, and on a new target you always can.
Target faces cleaned. 3 arrows per team. We'll look at the raw score first. If they're tied, it's about who has the closest arrow to the center of the target. China up first. Li Zhongguan on the shooting line.
That is a very important 10 as well, because as before mentioned, even if they have a tight score, they just go for closest to center, and then it's nice to have an X on the board.
Tanu Das. Advantage China. Sure.
9.
This is a big arrow for the 21-year-old Dheeraj Devara. Just on the 10 ring.
So as it stands, they're tied, but China is actually in the lead, I'd say, because they have a narrow that's closer to center.
Still all to play for, but put this in the X and giving China a big opportunity just low into the 9. So now India have a chance here. The most experienced man on the team, Tarandeep Rai, on the shooting line.
Yeah, a little bit of a wobble there. That was just a little too much to get it into the middle.
So despite the scores being equal, that very first arrow from Li Zhongwan hitting the X-ring is enough for the win for China. They've returned to the circuit for the first time after a 4-year absence, and they are right back with a bang, taking the Recurve men's team gold medal here in Antalya.